The studio was a familiar sanctuary for Anderson Cooper. The way the lights buzzed above, the subtle tension in the air before the audience applause signaled the beginning. But today was different. Vin Diesel sat across from him. Not in leather, not in sunglasses, no movie promotion, no red carpet glow. Just Vin, black t-shirt, worn jeans, hands resting lightly on his thighs, as if unsure what to do with them. Anderson leaned forward. Vin, tonight. No filters, no scripts, just the real you. You ready for that? Vin gave a small nod, eyes steady. I wouldn't be here otherwise. The screen behind them briefly flashed with footage from Vin's earlier years. Him on set, him laughing with Paul Walker, him giving a speech at a charity event in Brazil. Then it faded to black ... Let's start with something simple, Anderson said. Why are you here tonight? Vin exhaled. Because there's a difference between fame and responsibility. And for a long time, I confused the two. Anderson raised an eyebrow. Go on. Vin rubbed his hands together, the veins on his forearms rising like river maps. People think if you have a voice, you should talk politics. I get that, and sure, I read the bills, I follow the elections. But when I walk out of a studio at 2 a.m. and pass a woman sleeping on a sidewalk with her kid in her arms, I'm not thinking about Senate seats. I'm thinking about soup. The audience was silent. I'm thinking about what good a vote does when your stomach's been empty for 3 days. He continued. I'm thinking about whether she wake up tomorrow and still believe this country sees her. Anderson studied him. So you're saying politics isn't important? No. Vin shook his head. I'm saying politics is a house built on paper, and people are drowning in floods outside. I care about the roof, but I care more about the people. The childhood that didn't fit the narrative. I grew up with holes in my shoes, Vin said, his voice steady. Single mom, theater background. Most days, dinner was imagination. He chuckled softly, a sound with edges. I remember one winter, our heat got cut. My brother and I would pretend we were in some Arctic survival game, huddled together under blankets. That's how we coped. Pretend you're surviving, until you do. Anderson leaned back, folding his arms. But then came the success. Fast cars, big paychecks. Did that change your view of suffering? Vin didn't answer immediately. It changed my access, he said finally, not my memory. He looked at the camera directly now, voice firmer. You don't forget hunger. It stays with you. It shows up in hotel minibars and 5-star meals. It whispers, you didn't always have this. And then it screams, so what are you going to do with it now? Anderson nodded slowly. So what are you doing with it now? Vin's eyes didn't flinch. Feeding people, quietly. No press, no posts, just meals. In LA shelters, in Detroit schools, in back alleys of New Orleans where no spotlight shines. The call to something higher. Anderson clicked a remote. The screen showed a viral video from 2024. Vin visiting a soup kitchen unannounced, sleeves rolled up, serving food side by side with volunteers. You didn't post this, Anderson said. Veng smiled faintly. Wasn't meant for likes. Then who was it for? Veng looked off stage, as if searching for a memory. For my mother, he said. She once told me, Mark, if you ever make it, don't let the lights blind you to the shadows. Anderson's eyes softened. You're doing a lot of shadow work. Because that's where most of America lives, Veng replied. Not in headlines, in shadows. The borderline of compassion. Anderson cleared his throat. There's something I've been wanting to ask you directly, Veng. A few months ago, the country was shaken by the images from the southern border, children separated from their parents, people sleeping in chain-link enclosures. You didn't post anything online, no tweets, no interviews. But reports say you were there, off camera. Why? Veng looked down at his hands. I went because I couldn't sleep. He paused. I saw a photo, a father lying in the Rio Grande, face down. His little girl's arms still around his neck, even in death. And that image broke something in me. The audience sat in silence, even the camera crew momentarily frozen. I don't care how people feel about immigration laws, he said, voice deep and unwavering. That wasn't a policy failure. That was a failure of human decency. That was a man, like me, just trying to give his daughter a better life. Anderson leaned forward. What did you see when you got there? Veng exhaled, steadying his emotions. I saw fear. I saw hope. I saw 6-year-olds with eyes older than mine. And I sat with them, no press, no entourage. Just me. I told them stories, gave them food, listened. He clenched his fist gently, not in anger, but restraint. There was a boy, I think his name was Elias, 8 years old. His mother died crossing. His uncle got deported. He had no one. He gave me this drawing. Veng reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. A child's crayon sketch, a simple house, a sun, a stick figure with wide arms. He told me, this is you. This is your house. I'll live there when I grow up. Vin's voice cracked. And I realized, to him, I wasn't a celebrity. I was an anchor, a dream, a possibility. Anderson whispered, what did you say to him? I told him, mi cosa is to cosa, and I meant it. Anderson shifted gears, careful not to lose the emotional gravity in the room. You've said before that you don't identify with either party, that politics feels like performance. But in moments like this, don't we need policy change? Veng nodded, absolutely. But policy doesn't hold hands with a grieving child. People do. He leaned in, his baritone voice filling the studio like a sermon. Change starts in the heart, not the ballot box. You think a piece of legislation will fix a country that's forgotten how to love its neighbor? The audience murmured in agreement. We are so busy debating legal or illegal, we forget hungry and afraid are still just human. Anderson smiled faintly. That sounds like something from your films. Veng chuckled softly. Maybe, but this isn't a movie. There's no third act miracle if we don't act. Anderson turned to the screen again, showing covert footage. No spotlight, of Ving visiting shelters near El Paso, handing out winter jackets to children, embracing mothers through fences, and speaking fluent Spanish with the workers. These weren't posted online. No team, no studio, just you. Ving shrugged. You don't show up for applause. You show up for people. He paused, then added softly, "It's easy to pretend to care when the world is watching." The test is when no one's looking. Anderson leaned back, visibly moved. "Ving, I think a lot of people watching this tonight are going to see you differently. Not as Dom Toretto, not as a movie star, but as a man who sees the pain that others look away from." Ving's voice was quiet now, a gentle echo against the studio walls. "I just don't want to be famous in a world where kids died trying to reach hope."